I never thought I'd end up here, honestly. My name's Jake, and I was married to Emily for 5 years. We seemed perfect on the outside, beautiful engagement, big family gatherings, the whole fairy tale setup. But beneath all that, I always felt like there was something just a little off. She was always quick to dismiss my concerns, call me paranoid or insecure if I ever brought up her strange behavior. Still, I loved her, and I convinced myself that maybe I was just overthinking things. Our relationship started having cracks right around the time of the engagement party. It was supposed to be a huge celebration, friends, family, the whole 9 yards. Everyone was excited, including me. I'd planned everything myself. I wanted it to be perfect. Emily looked stunning, of course. She was glowing, flaunting her new ring, and everyone was congratulating us. But I couldn't shake the feeling that she was distracted, glancing around, avoiding eye contact with some people, especially her brother, Ryan. It was subtle at first. Small things. She'd be on her phone a lot more than usual, texting during dinner, hiding her screen when I looked over. And then there were the comments. She'd say things like, "You're so paranoid," or "Relax, everyone's just having fun." Whenever I asked her what she was doing on her phone, she'd brush it off with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes, and I'd feel this gnawing suspicion that she was hiding something. Still, I didn't want to believe it. Maybe I was just jealous or insecure. But then, about 2 weeks after the engagement, I noticed her phone kept vibrating late at night. I'd wake up and see her texting or scrolling through messages in the dark. She'd quickly shut it off if I got near. One night, I saw a notification pop up. It was a message from Ryan, just a simple "can't wait to see you tonight," sent at 11:45 p.m. That was weird, because Ryan was supposed to be out of town for work. I didn't say anything then, but I bookmarked that moment. Something was definitely wrong. Things only got worse when I found her leaving Ryan's house one night as I was pulling into the driveway. She was trying to sneak back in through the back door, clutching her purse tightly, her heels clicking softly on the pavement. I called her name and she froze. Her face crumpled for a second, then she fake smiled, acting like she'd been out with her girlfriends. I knew she was lying. I could see the guilt in her eyes. That was the night I started to suspect something more than just innocent flirtation. But I didn't want to believe it. I told myself I was imagining things, that maybe I was overreacting. Still, the evidence kept piling up. She'd get defensive when I asked her about Ryan or her late nights. Her stories would change every time I confronted her. One day she'd say she was just catching up with a friend, the next she'd say she was at a late yoga class. I knew she was lying, but her lies became more elaborate, more convincing, and I started to doubt myself. Was I just paranoid? Was I losing my mind? I remember feeling a mix of anger and confusion. How could she do this to me, to us? We had plans, our future, a life together, trust, and now I was questioning everything. I felt betrayed, absolutely betrayed, but also stupid for not seeing what was right in front of me all along. The worst part was the gaslighting. She'd look me in the eyes and tell me I was imagining things, that I was insecure or jealous. She'd call me crazy when I'd bring up her behavior, and I'd start to wonder if maybe I was the problem. Maybe I was just too insecure, too possessive. But deep down, I knew better. I knew what I saw, I knew what I felt. That's when I started to realize I was probably sitting on a ticking bomb. I'd spent years putting her on a pedestal, telling myself she was perfect, that I was lucky to have her. But now, after everything, I couldn't shake the feeling that she'd been cheating on me with my own brother, Ryan. The thought was like a punch in the gut, a brutal twist I never saw coming. I kept telling myself I was imagining things, that maybe I'd misunderstood, but the signs were too many, too clear. I just didn't want to believe it. Not yet. The more I thought about it, the more I couldn't ignore the feeling gnawing at me. I started paying closer attention, piecing things together like a detective in a bad crime show. It was subtle at first, her texts, her avoiding eye contact, the way she'd suddenly get quiet whenever Ryan's name came up. But then I started noticing her phone, the way she kept it glued to her hand or hid it when I entered a room. It was obvious she was hiding something, and I was too naive, or maybe too scared, to face it head on. One night I came home early from work. It was a gamble, but I just had this gut feeling that I needed to check. I went into her purse while she was in the shower. I know it was invasive, but I couldn't help myself. As I rummaged through her stuff, I found her phone. To my shock, there were messages, flirty, intimate texts from Ryan. Not just friendly banter, but things that crossed every line. They were talking about meeting up, sneaking away, late-night sex talk. My stomach sank. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest, like everything I believed in was shattering around me. I didn't even know how to process that. I stared at the screen, reading words I never thought I'd see between my wife and my brother. My mind raced. How long has this been going on? How could she betray me this way? I was furious but also devastated. The trust I had in her, in Ryan, in everything we built, all of it felt like it was crumbling. I took a screenshot of the messages, my hands trembling, before I put her phone back and left the house. I needed time to think, but I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. The next day, I confronted her. I told her I knew about the messages, about the affair. She was caught off guard for a second, then her expression turned icy. She looked at me with this venomous smile and said, "You're just paranoid. You always think the worst. Maybe if you weren't so insecure, you'd see that I love you." Her voice was sweet, but her eyes told a different story. She denied everything, of course. Said I was misinterpreting her texts, that Ryan was just a friend, and I was imagining things because I was insecure. She called me crazy for even suggesting she'd cheat, and then she threw in the classic line, "You're just jealous because Ryan is better looking than you." That was a dagger. Hearing her say that, gaslighting me like I was crazy, made my blood boil. I was already prepared for her denial, but her outright insulting me, twisting things around, it hurt worse than the betrayal itself. I wanted to scream, to shout, to break something, but I just stood there, stunned, trying to keep my composure. Inside, I felt like I was losing my mind. Maybe I was paranoid. Maybe I was just insecure. Maybe I was overreacting. But deep down, I knew I was. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. The secret late-night texts, the furtive glances, her lying when I asked her where she was. I kept thinking about what would happen if I let her continue. Would she keep lying? Would she keep sneaking around behind my back? The thought made me sick. I realized I had to do something, but I didn't know what yet. I was torn between wanting to confront her again, demanding honesty, or just packing my bags and walking away. I felt so betrayed, so stupid for trusting her for so long. Her words kept echoing in my mind. "You're paranoid. You're crazy. I love you. But I also love my brother." Those words became a mantra of doubt. Was I just imagining things all along? Or was she really capable of this? The emotional roller coaster was brutal. The shock, the anger, the sadness, every emotion was swirling inside me. I'd been lied to, manipulated, gaslit into thinking I was losing my grip on reality. And the worst part, I felt so alone. I had no one I could turn to, no one who believed me. Even my friends said I should give her a chance, that maybe I was overreacting. But I knew the truth. I just didn't know what to do about it yet. After that confrontation, I felt like I was walking around in a fog. The betrayal hit me harder than I expected. I kept replaying every moment, trying to find some sign I'd missed, some small detail that would prove I was wrong. But all I could see was her cold, dismissive smile when I accused her, the way she lied so convincingly, like she had rehearsed it. It was like I was living with a stranger, someone I barely recognized anymore. I knew I had to dig deeper. I couldn't just rely on the one night's evidence, no matter how damning it was. So I started sneaking around myself, going through her phone when she was out, checking her social media, looking for more clues. And sure enough, I found things that made my stomach turn. Hidden messages, deleted chats, private Instagram accounts she never mentioned. It was like a web of lies she spun around herself. Every time I thought I'd uncovered enough, something else would pop up. It was exhausting, and honestly, I felt like I was losing my mind. One day, I decided I needed to get the truth straight from her. I couldn't keep living like this, suspecting but never knowing for sure. So I set a trap. I planned to catch her in the act or get her to admit everything. I told her I wanted to talk, that I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay. She was her usual bitchy self, defensive, dismissive. She snapped at me, saying I was crazy, that I was possessive, and that I was ruining everything. That's when I finally pushed her about Ryan. I pointed out all the evidence I had, the texts, the late nights, the lies. Her reaction was almost laughable. She rolled her eyes, scoffed, then spun this elaborate story about how Ryan was just a brother figure, how I was paranoid, and how she was sick of my accusations. She called me jealous and possessive and accused me of trust issues. She told me I was imagining things because I was insecure. It was like she was reading from some script of how to gaslight someone. It made my blood boil. I wanted to shake her and scream, "Stop lying," but I didn't. Instead, I just looked at her with cold detachment. I knew then that there was no saving this. Whatever love I still had left was fading fast. I realized I was just a pawn in her game, a means to an end, probably because I was comfortable, stable, and she liked the security of our life. But I wasn't stupid anymore. I saw her for what she was, a manipulative, selfish bitch who'd lied to me for years. That afternoon, I made a choice. I couldn't keep doing this. I couldn't keep living with the doubt, the lies, the betrayal. I wanted out. I wanted to find a way to leave this behind, even if it broke me in the process. But I also knew that I had to protect myself from her. She was a master liar, and I couldn't trust her anymore. I started looking into lawyers, thinking about the logistics of leaving, of protecting whatever was left of my sanity. I was preparing myself for the worst but hoping for the best. That was the day everything changed. The moment I accepted that I couldn't fix her, that I couldn't fix us, I started to feel a little lighter. Like maybe I could finally breathe again. I knew I had a long road ahead, healing, rebuilding, moving on. But I also knew one thing for sure. I was done playing her game. I was done being the fool who believed in fairy tales. Now, I had to be honest with myself. And that meant facing the reality that she'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, and I deserved better. The decision to leave didn't come easily, but once I made up my mind, I felt a strange sense of clarity. I started packing my stuff quietly, trying not to wake her or tip her off. I didn't want her to know I was planning this, at least not until I was ready. I didn't trust her anymore, not that I ever thought I could again, but I also knew I had to be smart about how I handled it. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken or desperate. In the days that followed, I stayed low. I kept digging into her phone and her social media, gathering as much evidence as I could. I wanted to be prepared for whatever she might try. I knew she'd probably spin some story, try to manipulate her way out of it, or worse, turn it around on me. That bitch was a master at gaslighting, and I'd seen enough to know she'd do anything to keep her secrets hidden. I had to be smarter than her. One evening, I confronted her again, this time with a calm but firm tone. I told her I knew everything about the texts, her lies, her sneaking around with Ryan. Her face twisted into a sneer. She told me I was crazy, that I was making it all up, that I was just jealous because she was more successful than me and better looking. She threw in every insult she could think of, trying to break me down, but I wasn't going to let her. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her I was done. I told her to pack her shit, that I was leaving that night. Her reaction was classic. She tried to scream, to cry, to manipulate me into staying. She called me a loser, said I was pathetic, and told me I was ruining everything because I couldn't handle the truth. She begged, pleaded, and then started with the insults, saying I was a jealous, insecure man who couldn't handle her success or her freedom. I just stood there, numb but resolute. I knew I'd made the right decision. I couldn't be with someone who lied to my face every day, who played me for a fool. That night I packed my essentials and left. I didn't even say goodbye to her. I just drove away, feeling a mixture of relief and heartbreak. I felt like I was finally free, but also like I'd lost a part of myself. The house we'd shared, the future I'd envisioned, all gone in a flash. I stayed with a friend for a few days while I figured out my next steps. I knew I had to get a lawyer, start the process of divorce, and make sure she couldn't screw me over financially or emotionally. The aftermath wasn't easy. I was haunted by what I found, by her lies, her manipulation, the betrayal of my own brother. Every time I saw her name on my phone, I hesitated. Every time I thought about Ryan, about how they'd lied to my face for months, I felt rage boil up inside me. But I also felt a strange sense of relief. I finally saw her for what she was, a bitchy, manipulative woman who'd played me from the start. I've learned a lot through this entire nightmare. Mostly, I've learned to trust my instincts. I've learned that gaslighting is real, and some people are capable of the worst kinds of lies. I've learned that love isn't enough when the foundation is built on lies. And most importantly, I've learned that sometimes you have to walk away, even if it tears you apart to protect your dignity and sanity. I don't know what the future holds, but I know I deserve better than her. I deserve someone who's honest, who's loyal, who doesn't lie and cheat behind my back. And honestly, if I could give one piece of advice to anyone in a similar situation, trust yourself. Don't second guess what your gut is telling you. No matter how much someone gaslights or manipulates, your feelings are valid. Don't stay in a lie for the sake of comfort or familiarity. It's better to be alone than in a relationship full of betrayal. Because in the end, that betrayal messes with your mind, makes you question everything, including your own judgment. And that's the real damage. Living through this has been one of the toughest experiences I've ever faced, but it's also been a wake-up call. The betrayal by Emily and Ryan hit me so hard I thought I'd never recover. I spent weeks feeling numb, angry, and heartbroken, questioning everything I thought I knew about love and trust. For a long time, I could barely sleep or eat. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, the lies she told, and Ryan's smug expression when I finally caught them. Initially, I was consumed by rage. I wanted to tear everything apart, her reputation, her life, Ryan's, but that wasn't going to bring me peace. I realized I needed to let go of that anger or it would eat me alive. I had to find some way to move forward, to rebuild myself from the mess she left behind. That meant seeking therapy, talking to friends, and giving myself time to heal. One thing I learned is that betrayal doesn't just hurt you emotionally, it also shatters your sense of security. I found myself questioning my judgment constantly. Was I ever really happy? Did I ever really know her? Or was I just fooling myself into thinking I found someone perfect? The truth is, I was naive and I let her manipulate my feelings for too long. But now I'm trying to be honest with myself and accept that I was blind in some ways. That's part of healing, to face the brutal truth and learn from it. I've also started focusing on myself. I've gone back to the gym, picked up old hobbies I'd abandoned, and reconnected with friends I'd neglected. It's not easy, but I realize I can't let this define me. I am more than her betrayal, more than her lies. I deserve happiness, respect, and someone who genuinely cares. I'm not rushing into anything new yet, but I know I'm slowly reclaiming my life one day at a time. One of the hardest lessons I've had to learn is trusting again. I don't want to become bitter or suspicious, but I also know I have to be cautious. Not everyone is like Emily or Ryan. I've started to open up to new people, taking small steps to rebuild my trust in others, and I've cut out all contact with her. No texts, no calls, no social media. I had to block her because every time I saw her name or her face, it would reopen the wounds. It's like I had to erase her from my life to start healing. Looking back, I realize how much this experience has changed me. It's made me more cautious, but also more resilient. I'm learning that pain, while terrible, can also be a catalyst for growth. I know I'll never forget what happened, but I refuse to let it define me. I want to find someone who values honesty and loyalty, someone who isn't capable of the lies that destroyed my previous relationship. So, if I could give any final advice to someone going through something similar, it's this: trust your instincts. Don't ignore the red flags, even if they seem small. And never let someone gaslight you into thinking you're crazy. You're not. You deserve honesty and respect. If someone betrays you, don't be afraid to walk away, even if it feels like the end of everything. Because sometimes, losing someone you love is the only way to find yourself again. And honestly, that's what I'm trying to do now: find myself, rebuild my trust, and move on to a better, honest life. It's been months since I left her, and honestly, I'm still trying to put the pieces of myself back together. Some days are better than others. I still get angry when I think about the lies, the betrayal, the way she gaslit me into doubting my own mind. It's like her voice still echoes in my head, telling me I was crazy or paranoid. But I refuse to let her define my reality anymore. I've come to accept that I was just a victim of someone's selfishness and manipulation, but I'm also learning to forgive myself for trusting her so blindly for so long. Biggest lesson I've taken away from this whole nightmare is that trust is fragile. You have to protect it, nurture it, and never ignore your gut feelings. If something feels wrong, it probably is. I also learned that some people are just capable of astonishing cruelty, and the only way to truly protect yourself is to face the truth, no matter how painful it might be. Because living in denial, believing her lies, questioning my own sanity, only makes things worse. I don't regret leaving her, even if it hurts like hell. I realize now I was holding on to an illusion of happiness that wasn't real. She never cared about me. They were both just using me, feeding off my trust and my love until there was nothing left. But I'm stronger than that. I've started focusing on myself, rebuilding my confidence and learning to love again, but this time with open eyes. To anyone reading this who might be in a similar situation, know that you're not alone. You're not crazy for feeling hurt or suspicious. Your feelings are valid. Trust your instincts and don't be afraid to walk away from someone who doesn't deserve you. It hurts now, but in the long run, it's better to be alone and true to yourself than to stay in a lie. You'll heal, you'll learn, and one day, you'll find someone who truly values you and wouldn't dream of betraying you like this. I want to finish by saying that despite everything, I still believe in love, just not the kind she pretended to give me. I believe in honesty, loyalty, and kindness. I believe that I'll find it again someday with someone who truly deserves my trust. And I hope that anyone else out there who's gone through betrayal finds the strength to move forward. Because life is too short to waste on someone who lies and manipulates. I'm finally moving on, and honestly, it feels like I've just started living again.